I'm meteorologist Andy Chilian here to talk about the quadrants of a hurricane. And so quadrant, obviously there's going to be 4 of them, but let's talk about which ones are the most significant when we're talking about impacts. And the most significant here is going to be the right front quadrant. That is the worst part of the storm. That's where you get the highest or the strongest winds, the greatest risk for tornadoes, the worst storm surge, and the worst flooding as well. Then the next one's going to be the right rear quadrant. You still have the bigger risk for winds, tornadoes, surge, and flooding, just maybe not quite as much as the right front quadrant. So why is the storm worse on the right side? Well, you've got the winds and the surge. They're enhanced by steering currents on the right side. So we know that hurricanes flow in a counterclockwise direction. And then if you've got the movement in that direction enhanced by that, and the steering currents really driven by the upper level winds, you're basically just adding to that. So you've got this movement forward, you've got the counterclockwise circulation, and that's what adds to things being worse on the right side. So you do not want to be on this side if it is making landfall. Now we've got the other 2 quadrants, the left rear. Not to diminish the impacts completely, you'll still get some. It's just not going to be as bad when we talk about the threat for the strong winds, the tornado risks, the storm surge risk, and the flooding. Really not as bad. So this is really key to how it makes landfall, because now you have the surge essentially, or the winds essentially going opposite. And so if you remember back a few years ago, Hurricane Ian, do you remember in Tampa how there was actually almost an anti-surge? You had the winds that were so strong in the storm, it actually pulled the water out. And so people could go walking out, although they shouldn't have been. And it was just bare ground there where the water normally would be, because it was on the opposite side of the storm. Meanwhile, south towards Fort Myers and Naples, getting the worst of the surge because they were on this right side. So that sort of shows you the different quadrants of the hurricanes and where you don't want to be in the storm. And also, by the way, the remnants, if you're on the south and east side, you can also get some pretty big impacts with some especially tornado risks, some heavy rain, and also some strong winds as well.